We're sitting here today with Christian, who's a member of the community, and we're just going to have a conversation with him. And Christian, welcome.
Thank you.
Christian, why don't you give us a little bit about your background and how you got up here?
Well, let's see my background. I was born and raised just outside of Dallas, Texas. Right. And so, very hot, humid place. Grew up there. My father was a family physician. He was a doctor. And my mother was a stay-at-home mom. And these were my adopted parents. I found my real mom when I was a senior in high school. And we had a loving, really wonderful, loving relationship. I joined the Army straight out of high school. In fact, I graduated high school early and jumped straight into the Army, feet first. Spent 3 years in Germany. 6 months of that was a tour of duty in a combat zone in Desert Storm. And then I spent my last year at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, but I always loved the beautiful scenery that I saw in the Bavarian area of Germany. And so when I got out of the Army, I said, I gotta find someplace like that. And so in doing that, I found Kalispell, Montana, and all my searching the first summer after getting out of the Army. And so that's how I found my way up here all the way back in the summer of 1994.
Okay, and did you feel right at home when you found Kalispell and you came here to live?
I knew it the minute I saw the town, the minute I saw the area. Drove through Montana, Colorado, saw Missoula, and thought, yeah, maybe it's pretty neat. And I hit Kalispell, so this is it.
So, as a member of the community up here, what kind of positions have you held in the past, and what kind of things have you done?
Oh gosh, I used to work for the post office for 3 years. I've worked as a, you okay, don't get hurt. I've worked as, worked for the post office for 3 years. A lot of jobs here and there over time. I was a federal police officer for about 3 years as well, and then after that became very hard to do. And then after I left that, I even went and did a 1-year apprenticeship for tattooist. And so
Okay.
I'm a tattooist as well. So I've done lots of different things. I'm like a jack of all trades, master of none. So right.
Okay, so what we're here today to talk about is we're here to talk about your gifts that you've been given through Spirit or over the years. So why don't you give us a little bit of background about what those gifts have been and how they manifest themselves to you?
Well, it's hard to say to put like a singular thing on it. When it comes to being, let's say, the general term, let's say, being psychic. Okay, well, there's different kinds of psychics. For me, it's the clairvoyant type because most of my information comes in as pictures. But the clairaudient, where you can hear what they're saying or feel what they're saying, plays a huge role as well. And sometimes the feeling that they'll give you while you're sitting there and doing this. It's always kind of come naturally. As a child, I never knew it was something different from anybody else. Anybody else wasn't doing it because it was never talked about in my family, either pro or con. So I've been able, at least been aware of it, that Spirit has been working in my life to that degree. I don't know, maybe since I was 12 or 13 years of age. And I can remember the first instant that happened. I call it my scorpion story. I was in the kitchen as a kid. I was the only one in the kitchen, and I was doing the dishes like any good kid's supposed to be doing. Not that I was enjoying it, but I was doing the dishes, and all of a sudden, a woman cut off my train of thought. Inside my mind, she said, "There's a scorpion behind you," and it was so real. It even felt so physical that I stopped doing what I was doing, put down the dish that I was cleaning on, and I turned around and I looked on the kitchen floor. I'm looking around the kitchen, I'm like, oh, there's no scorpion here at all. So it perplexed me, what was that about? So I went to turn around, and just as I did, a scorpion came out from underneath the refrigerator. And of course, as a young kid growing up in East Texas, well, you freak out. Because, oh my gosh, there's a scorpion in the house, right? So in dealing with that, I just left it alone. I just went back to life.
Did you share that with your parents? Or any of your siblings or anybody?
No, not till later in life. When people started asking me the question, well, when did you first realize? Because nobody ever really asked that question, and I never told them what was going on, so nobody ever talked about it. I thought it was something that happened to other people. I thought that was normal. I thought Well, that was just an angel or God or spirit or something talking to me and helping me out, which is what it was. But I thought that was normal.
So when did you realize that you were kind of special with gifts?
I want to say I knew something was different compared to everybody else. I want to say around sometime in early high school when I was able to start picking up on what other people were thinking without them knowing. And I was talking to my friends about it, and I didn't know what to call it. I didn't know what it was. And so I just, I said, well, I can do this. And I can do that. I said, haven't you ever seen a spirit shifting out of the corner of your eye or moving around a corner? And haven't you ever been able to know what someone was thinking? And they're like, no. And I'm like, oh. And they said, well, you're psychic. I'm like, what's psychic? I'd never even heard the word. So I want to say sometime in early high school, I kind of even had an idea about it. And it just came so naturally. I mean, even in the Army, some guys figured out that I was. And I didn't like to get out too much there because that culture was just, it was a different kind of culture. But I mean, they even had me in a room one time. Remember, this one guy was like, and I didn't know him. He said, "What's my first name?" And of course, we all knew each other by our last name. He goes, well, "What's my first name?" And James. And we all didn't know that. He was new. And he goes, and I said, well, you can do it too. What's my name? And he totally missed it. So it's just kind of been building over the years, is what it's been. And to the point that people started pushing me to start doing this for others.
So it's a gift that you have received and then started to manifest itself within you.
I think it's a gift that's there for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just choosing to pay attention to it more. I'm not saying that Spirit talks to me to me any more than anybody else. But I think sometimes people are coming here to participate in that life more than others. It's about the best way I can put it. I don't like saying that it's a special gift. Everybody has their own special gifts, but it's just a gift that I don't have to work very hard for it to happen. It just comes naturally. I don't know how else to put it.
So over the years, Christian, you have not chosen to really let it fully manifest itself to come out.
Right.
So you've just sort of entered the public field.
Right.
Okay, so how long have you been doing this now?
I want to say about 2 years. I've been open to the public for about 2 years.
And how do people sort of hear about you? Is it word of mouth? Or?
That's the majority of it is, oh, you did a reading for my friend or for my family member, and I need to come and see you. I want to come and see you. And that's the majority of it. Most of the time, I've had quite a few people who've actually run into my website and found me that way. But a lot of it, no, it's like, you need to go see Christian.
Do they have expectations when they call you?
Always.
And
it's hard for them not to. I mean, I was guilty of it when the guy that I felt was my mentor for this, Bill Smith, who has since passed, some years ago. I was guilty of when I went to go see him. I wanted to hear something that was going to make me feel good, but the truth came out instead. So, and some people, well, I want to speak to this family member. Well, I can ask them to be here, but I can't force them to be here. Free will still exists, no matter where you are in the universe or in the scheme of life.
So when you have aspects of the communication with the spirit life, basically, do you give the people the exact feelings that are coming from the other side?
Oh yes, I mean and that's part of the communication. Is how's a person delivering it? How is the loved one that's coming through? How are they saying? What words are they using? And how are they saying them? That's part of the communication because it means something to them. And I've seen it affect some of my clients incredibly. It's like, oh my God, that's exactly the way they would say it. Those words with that attitude. That's how they would do it. So it's a huge part of the communication coming in from the other side.
So in the mediumship that is out there, do you basically, when a person comes to you, is that when you start to receive the feelings or the vibrations on what is going to be told to you?
Sometimes immediately. Sometimes when I'm talking to the person on the phone and scheduling a week out, I already have an idea of what family member I'm going to be talking to.
Ah, okay.
Sometimes that early. I was going to be late to one of my clients one time, and I was driving down from Whitefish, and my wife was there to greet them and let them in, and I just started talking to Spirit, and I said, I need to prepare for this now, and who's here to talk, and I got the individual, and an incredible amount of information just started pouring in. I said, okay, wait, I got to ask you to stop because I'm driving down the road, and I asked, can you please just stay with us for this family member that you need to talk to? And I thought, okay, so I held this person off. And I got there and I sat down, I met the client and everything, and I said, okay, well, let me see who's coming in, because I thought, well, maybe it was for someone else, or maybe it wasn't even real, because I was still new to this, and opening myself up to the public. No, lo and behold, that's exactly who the person was when I was driving down as fast as I could to get to them, and she knew exactly who it was. And so it'll come in all the time, and it comes in with different intensities. Some are not so strong, some are calm and mild, some are not so clear. Some of the loved ones that the people really want to see are not there. They're just choosing not to be there. And as we talk about it, we find out there is no reason for them to be there. Spirit's taking the opportunity to deliver a message that this family member needs to have, but it may not be from the family member they want to talk to. So that's why I worry about expectations, because what if they're so hung up on the expectation that they miss the gift of this beautiful message that's coming through just for them? So that's the tough part with expectations.
So when you have a session with individuals, is it usually just one session, or will they come back?
Oh no, sometimes they choose to come back, and one lady came back enough times that even before she got there for, I think it was like her third reading, I asked Spirit, I said, what is your feelings on the frequency of this? And they said, cut her off. And I had already come to agreement with that in my own self, because they can start becoming addicted to the medium, because they feel they can't talk to Spirit. They think you're the only one that can, and it's not the truth at all. They're talking to him all the time. They just are not choosing to really listen, okay? And so I told her when we got done with the reading, I said, this is pretty much probably going to be the last time for a while that we meet. She goes, yes, I know. I'd already come to that decision on my way here. So Spirit had already taken care of it for me. So it wasn't such a, like, oh no, situation. But most of the time, most people, it tends to be one reading.
So Christian, will you be? Are you able to do remote readings too?
Yes, I've been able to do readings for people over the phone. That's something within the last year I've opened myself up for.
Are they more effective, do you think, or are they?
They're no different.
Okay.
They're irrelevant, because in Spirit, time and space is literally relevant. You have a thought of a place and you're there. You're just there. And so, and doing a reading for, oh my gosh, a woman in Nevada, her brother was missing up in the woods. Get her accurate information on that. A woman in Wisconsin, and I think a woman in Connecticut, and even other people in the state. Just here in the state of Montana, I've been able to do readings for. I did a reading for a woman, I think she was in Missoula or Bozeman, and told her about a relative she never knew about until later on that night. She talked to her oldest sister and found out, yeah, you were right about where he lived, what he did for a living, and about his name. She goes, and I never knew about him. And I said, well, so yeah, when it comes to that, it is irrelevant. I love the face-to-face more. I just love it. I've always liked interaction like that more, but to do it over the phone it can be just as effective. Yeah.
What do you see for yourself as the future unwinds, being that you've just recently started down this path?
Well, I see myself as a full-time medium, psychic medium, clairvoyant medium, and I do, to a certain degree, I do see myself even doing some traveling to be able to get to some places that
You need to get to.
I need to get to for people.
Yeah.
I need to get to for people, yeah.
Do you see yourself home basing out of this area?
Yes, almost definitely. I can't imagine leaving this area. I've tried several times to leave this area, and all I do is end up coming right back.
It's got good energy.
It does. It's a beautiful place for it. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We've been talking to Christian McCarthy, this afternoon, and his website is www.christian, CHRISTIAN, McCarthy, MCCARTHY .webs.com.
Right.
You'll be on the profile, so come and visit Christian and give him a call if you want. Thanks, Christian.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.